So, I just finished recording a video on the difference between OneDrive and SharePoint. Matter of fact, right here, I'm pointing at it still on this page, where OneDrive is the modern cloud version of what people used to call their user drive, and SharePoint is the modern cloud version of what people would call a shared drive back when we had servers on site and all the hosting was done on there, right? And I thought to myself, I can't in good conscience leave you with that without showing you how to share data, which is what these are, you're supposed to be able to do with OneDrive and SharePoint in a way that doesn't get your information stolen. All right, before I show you the actual configuration on the screen, I want to give you one big service notice. OneDrive and SharePoint both have the opportunity to share with the whole world. Now, it didn't used to be that way back in the U drive and S drive day, right? Like U drive was your stuff. You don't share that with people. Well, now you can. But here's the thing. OneDrive sharing, from the way it's designed, is supposed to be you with one or two other people. Like, oh, I've got this file. It's my file, right? I own it. Can you help me with this? Can you review this and make sure I didn't make any mistakes? Can you add a few things to this, right? Person X, person Y. I'm mentioning this and I'm spending a brief moment saying that because what I've seen happen is people start turning their OneDrives into SharePoints, meaning they start creating folders in their OneDrive and they share with this group and this person and that person. And before long, you pretty much are becoming a system administrator yourself. You're like, oh man, they need permission to this and I need to grant that. And you're managing a whole thing which SharePoint is supposed to do. So first and foremost, figure out what's this file for. Is it my file? This is mine and it will stay mine forever. Then keep it on OneDrive and share it with individual folks that need access to it. But if it's our files, if this is a group of people collaborating together on that file or that folder, then make the move. Move that thing over to SharePoint. That's what I'm saying. It's moving from my stuff to our stuff. Big, big difference. Now, let me show you how to do it. Boom, I'm on the computer. I've got two folders right here. One of them is on OneDrive. This is a Rocketbook folder that I used to have a Rocketbook and take notes, right? And so this is some notes, looks like from back in 2021. Over here, I have a SharePoint folder, which is part of our larger organization. I'm gonna show you sharing from each. So Rocketbook, I can share, with OneDrive, with SharePoint, you can share anything. You can share one file, you can share a whole folder, you can do all kinds of things, right? So I'm gonna right click on this and there's a couple ways to do it. First off, don't trip up in this. Don't hit the share button. That's Windows sharing. That's the old school way, right? We go down to OneDrive and that's where we have a share button. So there's a lot of confusion right there, right? So I click on, I'll show you later where I usually go, but where most people usually go to get started is this share button. Click on that, pops up a little window that by default will say, okay, who do you want to share with? Now, when you start typing a name, like let's say I want to share this Rocketbook folder with Eric, right? I type that in, it's gonna look at my internal organization. At VIA, there's Eric Pope, he's a service architect. There's Eric Alvarez, an on-site technician, right? And you can see the different Erics that we have. It even recognizes, hey, there's an Eric spelled with a C. Smart enough to be like, you might be meaning that one as well, as we look at all the different folks that we have here at VIA, right? So I can do that and click on that person, and now I'm sharing internally, right? These are people within the same organization. And then from here, I have the permission. Can they edit? Can they view? Can they view, but they can't download? I don't want them to take it. Just want them to be able to see it, right? That's the permissions that I have. Now, so that's the most common way, right? People within the organization. What if I want to share with somebody outside of the organization? Like, let's say I'll say jeremy.chara@gmail.com, which is some email address for all the spam. When somebody's like, what's your email? And I don't know them, I give them that email address, right? Now it gives me a warning right away. It's like, hey, by the way, that's someone outside of your organization. It's because we've got security policies set up to notify people. Now, I want to show you a big difference right here. So let me finish this. So I'm gonna set this to edit, right? So jeremy.chara@gmail can edit. I'm gonna click on invite, right? Now, let me stop there and say, that's how I share with OneDrive to an emailer via email, right? one brief note. I'm going to jump over to SharePoint. Watch this. I'm going to click on, let's say I want to share this PowerPoint file right here, this E-rate deck, right? I'm going to click on OneDrive. I'll go to share. Watch what happens. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to share this with jeremy.chara@gmail.com, and watch what it does. It recognizes that person's outside of the organization, and the administrator, which is very common, has set it up to where SharePoint is only within the organization, right? Very common that people will say OneDrive can go out, SharePoint can go in. Now, let me briefly say, you can adjust those policies as a Microsoft 365 admin, right? We can actually create a whole SharePoint site, sections of a SharePoint, a folder on a SharePoint site where we say, okay, that one can be shared with outside the organization, but not everything. And that's good because you don't want somebody accidentally being like, hey, here's our accounting folder, world, right? We want to make sure that those permissions are set correctly. So that's one of the big differences that I commonly see between OneDrive and SharePoint, but I'm going to come back here. Now notice, I just shared that with jeremy.chara@gmail.com. How does that stay secure? I mean, can't jeremy.chara@gmail.com forward that on to other people and spread that? It's a great question that I'm thinking to myself. Let me show you. Okay, so there it is, my first shared file from OneDrive. I'm going to click on it, and this is jeremy.chara@gmail. You can just see it's full of junk, but right up here, I've got it's this file. Now, the question I had for you is, how do you know that jeremy.chara@gmail.com is opening this and it's not just like somebody else forwarded it or somebody just got this link, like if they copied this link? It's a great question. I'm going to click on open and watch what happens. It first off comes up and says, hey, I noticed you received a secure link. What is the email address you got this from? So first off, if jeremy.chara@gmail.com forwards this on to somebody else, they're going to have to know this came from jeremy.chara@gmail.com, which I know you're like, well, that's not totally secure. Well, watch this. As soon as I say, okay, well, I know the email address. It's jeremy.chara@gmail.com, right? I click on next, and it says, okay, I'm going to email a temporary code to that email address. It's not even telling me if it's right. Like, first off, I have to score if I'm a hacker and know that that's the email address. But second off, I have to be able to access that email and get the code out of it. If I come back here and look right here, again, it's going to take a second. Boom, there we go. Comes up and says, here's your one-time code. I can copy and paste that and put it in there. So notice, they not only have to know the email address, they have to know the code that goes to that email address, which only lasts for a certain amount of time, and then they're going to have to verify it again. This is the pain that the folks outside of your organization will have to have as they are, as I'm looking at my phone, hopefully that doesn't have anything that I don't want you to see in there, but that's the pain that they're going to have to go through because they don't have an actual Microsoft account. They're just an outside email user. So that's the first thing. That's how we share with users that are outside of our organization. Now, let me show you how I do most of my sharing for people that are inside of the organization. I'm coming back here to this OneDrive folder, and you can see my Rocketbook. Notice that it has the cloud and there's this little user on it, very, very small, right? That tells me that is a shared file. It's a quick way that I can just glance and go, ooh, that's shared. So I can right click on that and I can go to OneDrive and hit Manage Access, and I'll notice that I now have, these are the folks that it's shared with, and I can see right there, jeremy.chara is an external user that has now added itself to this list, right? And I can see this link right here. For people I specified, that's the link that it sent to jeremy.chara@gmail.com. And I can be like, you know what? He's out of there. I'm done sharing with that user. I can remove that link, and now it also removes jeremy.chara@gmail.com from that, right? So that's how I can manage this access once it's there. I can come in here and I can, change from view to edit to all those kind of things. It's a very simple way to do that. And again, I got that. Notice the little user is gone because it's no longer shared, but I can right click on this, click on OneDrive, go to Manage Access, and that's how I can do it. Now, how I do it most of the time is I go to OneDrive and I go straight to this copy link. I do this because I do a lot of sharing with people inside of my organization, but I find most of the time people don't use email, at least not as frequently as I'd like. Like, everybody still uses email, I shouldn't say it that way, but they might check it once a day or once a week, or depends on them, right? Nowadays, we're using things like Slack and Teams and things like that to do more real-time communication. So oftentimes what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I want to share this. Wow, I got a very little window here. That's funny. I close that. Let me try it again. I must have clicked something funny. So I'm going to click on OneDrive copy link, right? And it comes up and it says, oh, okay, boom. Immediately it creates a link that anybody can use that link to view it. A lot of times that'll be just fine. Like, hey, can you check this out, right? And so it's already, oh, that's what happened. I kind of hovered over it. So it already copies it to my keyboard, and now I can, if I want to email it, I can go copy and paste that into the email. Did I say copy to my keyboard? I meant copy to my clipboard. So I can just paste that into the email, or I can open the Teams window, do a Control V and paste it right in there. I do this all the time to just do a quick sharing without having to actually send an email. Just give me that link and I can share it away, right? So let me then take that to my number one tip for you on SharePoint. The beauty, so this is where I'm coming back here, right? I'm back to, OneDrive, my stuff. SharePoint, our stuff. The beauty of SharePoint is most of the time permissions are already set up. I don't have to worry about view or edit or anything like that because the administrators have set up all the folders in SharePoint and they're all set with the correct sharing permissions. So what I can do is I come over to SharePoint. Let's say I want to share this photos folder with somebody else, right? I can go to OneDrive and I can go to copy link, right? Now again, remember, OneDrive, and this goes back to the video I recorded before, OneDrive is used to manage SharePoint, right? That's where a lot of the confusion has come in. That's why I created a whole video on OneDrive versus SharePoint. I feel like I'm talking really fast right now, so I'm gonna slow down. So take a look right here. So I've got this link created. Now, what I'm gonna do is click on Settings, because when I'm sharing from SharePoint, I don't usually want a new link, or most of the time I'm like, these people have access, they're just like, they don't want to have to troll through all of these folders to find this folder or this file. So what I will often do is, if I want to get people to this photos folder where I'm at right here, I'll do copy link and then I'll immediately go to that settings and go to people with existing access, right? By saying I want to copy the link, it's going to create a view only link. Most of the time, I don't want that. I want to just say, that's the file or that's the folder I want you guys to work on. So I'll go down here and click this people with existing access, hit apply, and now it copies the link to my clipboard for people that already have access to it. So I'm not granting any other permissions. I'm just saying, hey guys, here's a link, and then I'll take this link. It's right there. If I want to copy it again, I can copy all day. But I'll take that link and I'll paste that into an email, or most likely I'll paste that into Teams, a Teams chat, and say, hey everybody, that's the folder we were just working out of. Please update blah, 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 right? That's the big difference. So now you have seen in this one video how you can share with OneDrive, again, back to my files that I'm sharing with people, my stuff, and how you can share with SharePoint, which is our stuff, which almost always I'm gonna use that people with existing access link. So it's just a pointer, not a new share permission. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.